All right, guys, today I am going to come back around and touch on a subject that was mentioned many times on this video, but not for a while. So I get a lot of people asking me about the SUR. Do I still have it? Well, any updates, things like that? Because as you guys may or may not know, I built the fastest SUR in the world. It's still the fastest around in the world 3 years later. So I'm pretty impressed with that. I don't know. I'm surprised, I guess, because I figured by now there would definitely be something faster, but no one has proven it. And oh well, here it is. This is my 2018 SUR. It's 2018 or 2019. They're kind of similar in those 2 years. SUR Light BX. It says Segway on it, but it's not really Segway. As anybody who knows about these bikes may know by now, Segway rebranded a SUR and sold them for a little while. They had the X240. It was basically a rebranded Light BX, which is what we have here. So this is the real Light BX. Has the stock Volcano D&M suspension on it, which is pretty beefy for this size bike. Now, these bikes are kind of small. If you're not familiar with these bikes, I'll give you a quick rundown. It's like halfway between a pit bike and a dirt bike. It's like 100-pound bike, but it's not that big, but it's not that small either.
That's what she said.
So it can carry a full adult, obviously, like myself. I'm 6 foot, 180 pounds, 175, and I ride on it no problem at all. It feels comfortable. I don't feel like I'm cramped or if it's too small, and I definitely don't feel like it's too big. I can put both feet on the ground, no problem, while I'm sitting still. It's really a joy to ride this thing. So from the factory, which obviously I bought it all stock, they do like 50 miles an hour, and they're 5 kilowatts. That's the rating for it. They put out 5 kilowatts, 50 miles an hour. It turned out to be like 47 or 48 miles an hour GPS, but still not too bad. And it was fun riding it just like that. But you know, the bug bites, and you gotta do stuff. So the rabbit hole opened up, and I just went right down into it with this thing. I knew I was going to from the beginning, just because I had seen that there was some aftermarket out there for it. So when I started getting into it a little bit closer, it just became apparent to me that I needed to just go ahead and max it out. So it doesn't have all of the trinkets on it. It's not a chassis build, really. This is more of a power system build. And the heart of that power system is right here. The stock controller was ditched for this unit from ASI. This is called the BAC 8000. And this controller really just completely terminates the factory controller. The factory controller, I think, was 95 amps rated, and it uses 60 volt battery. The stock battery is a 60 volt battery. I think it was a 29 amp hour or maybe 31 amp hour, something like that. And anyway, this new controller is able to operate. I mean, we could run it up to 100 volts if we wanted to, but this new one is running a 72 volt configuration, and it does just well. We're doing this with the Lightspeed 72 volt battery as well. And this battery gives us a little more range as well as a lot more power. We're able to really get into it with this thing. The stock battery has a battery, basically a battery like computer built on board that prevents it from discharging at a very high rate. So you can bypass that, which I did on the stock battery, but it's not good for the battery, and it's definitely dangerous. So I didn't want to stay like that forever. I didn't have any problems with it, but I could tell it was gonna just kill the battery eventually. But I did manage to go 70 miles an hour on that 60-volt stock battery, which is still, I believe, up there as far as, I don't think there's anyone else doing that with the stock battery. So anyway, we did that, shattered that record, went straight for the big boy record, and put the BAC 8000 on board. Now this BAC 8000 was an offering at the time from a guy named Alan Hu, that he has a company called ERT, and it's not that easy to get these things, but basically the joy of his setup is that it utilizes this touchscreen right here that has all of your information built in on board. So you can see speed, battery, current draw, usage, everything is in there. It's a really great little dash setup, and it helps control everything. It kind of has its own configuration to control this entire unit. It changes how this BAC actually operates. So you can't get these options. You cannot make the bike do what this bike does, what my bike does, without that NXT screen separate controller display. It changes the signals in the BAC. So the BAC 8000 is a great power unit, but it doesn't do it without that. And it's pretty hard to get. So anyway, stock motor still on board, holding up just fine. And you might ask, what is the fastest SUR in the world? What is that speed? Well, this one actually was able to achieve 86 miles an hour, almost 87 miles an hour, GPS, double redundant. I had 2 GPSs on board, and it did it pretty well, pretty easily. I think it could go faster, especially with a tailwind. With a tailwind, I've gone over 90. I'm not going to claim that as my record, though, because it just doesn't count. But tailwind or drafting a car, definitely over 90 miles an hour all day. But 86, though, unassisted, that was the record that I set. And it still holds to this day. Even with all the big boy motors and controllers that have been coming out, this old setup, when I say old, it's, 3 years old, is still cranking. So I can't complain. I can't argue with that. Now, when you get up to those crazy maniacal speeds, one of the first things you have to do is upgrade your brakes, because these bikes come with basically a mountain bike brake. It's fine for the stock 5,000 watt setup, which, when I say fine, I mean you'll kill the brakes fast. You'll see. If you have one of these, you know what I'm talking about. This is a stock brake. Still have the stock brake on the back. I upgraded the pads. These are Shimano H03Cs that I put in there. They're just a little bit higher performing, and they have heat sinks built into them to help dissipate some of that heat. So this is a stock brake, and what I did, this was also on the front as well. Same thing was on the front. It's a 4-piston caliper. It's not bad, but there's only one brake on the front. So the first thing I realized is that the weak point really isn't the caliper, it's the rotor. No matter how much extra clamping force you add to it, the rotor gets so hot at these speeds. When you start getting 50, 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, the rotor just scorches when you try to stop. And if you have to stop fast, forget it. You're gonna melt it. So enter the solution. Dual brakes, in case you didn't see it already. So we've got 2 220 millimeter rotors, 225 to be exact, two 225 millimeter rotors mounted on the front of this thing, and it just does the job. So basically we were displacing the load across 2 calipers instead of one single 4-piston. We have still 4 pistons technically, just on 2 calipers. We have 2 and 2. So this displaces the heat, it displaces the load, and it allows it to stop a lot more confidently and a lot safer. So the way that you achieve this is with dual mounts, which I don't think all of the suspensions have. Only the D&M, from my understanding, has it as far as stock suspension that comes with this thing, but you definitely need to make sure you have that opportunity if you want this setup. The second thing you need is a custom wheel. This one is done by Wicked Wheel Works. It's a little bit bigger too. It's an upsized wheel. This is an 18-inch versus the stock 17-inch Supermoto setup. So as you can see, we got the Supermoto in the back. That's a stock wheel, 17-inch. We got the 18 in the front. It's kind of dirt bike-y. but it helps. It's a lot smoother over terrain, and it's a lot just more stable. We got a little more rotating mass. Doesn't make you any faster, I'll tell you that right now. So don't expect extra speed from a bigger wheel, but you can expect the ability to run 2 rotors if you get this dual hub. So we got the dual hub on there, 2 big boy rotors, and the calipers mounted. They're teed up into the factory master cylinder, which just does the job. I'm not even going to argue with it, because why change it if it's not if it's not broken? You know what I mean? So that made the brakes a lot more predictable and a lot safer. The next thing we did was lighting upgrade. We got rid of that. We ditched that stock light. We put this nice unit on here, eBay special or Amazon, whatever. They're like 15 bucks. You can't go wrong. The light that this thing throws out though is undeniable. It just does the job. And to round out the lighting package, we have added this setup here, which allows us to turn the light on. And also we have daytime running lights, as you see, which also double up as turn signals. Pretty cool, huh? And you can see links to all this stuff in my other videos where I install it. Really nice little lighting setup. We got a brake light as well with tail light and turn signals in the back too. Not so bright in the day, but you can still see it pretty well. At night, this is really cool because it creates this like ambient light effect. I love it. And it's all controllable right here. So also, we got the horn typically. And also the one thing that's really cool about this NXT setup that I forgot to mention is that we retain the sport and eco switch. So that allows us to, you can see right here, eco, sport. So we can still switch between the 2 modes using the factory switch. Really cool. And that allows us to set a limit. It's all programmable on the screen. Set a power limit, a speed limit. So I'm able to bring it down so that I can sit at full throttle and still be doing, 45 or 50. I don't need to go that fast. If I want to crank it all the way down to class 2, I can go 20 miles an hour. So I'm on sidewalks and stuff like that. And I'm not bothering anyone, and I'm not dangerous like it would be fully opened up. So I wanted to really just show you guys this bike, and I get a lot of questions about it constantly. So hopefully you bear with me. The other thing I forgot to mention is going to kind of rounds out the whole thing, besides this custom seat, really nice, is belt drive. So this thing comes with a chain from the factory, which is loud, noisy, heavy, anything. I don't like it. So this is the Luna belt drive. Does the job. I have tore up belts on this thing doing full speed launches, full power launches, but I've also managed to set records there as well. Under 2 seconds, 1.9 seconds, 0 to 30. This is just a monster in every way, shape, or form. I don't know, I can't say enough good stuff about this bike. So in case you're wondering, in case you want one of these, that's what we've done. That's what we've got here. That's pretty much it. There's really nothing more to it except for some fine tuning of things. But other than that, that's it. So hopefully that answers a lot of questions for you guys. And if you have any more, just leave it in the comments. But check out the other videos if you want to see some riding footage of this thing. You want to see me actually going nuts with it. You can probably find it really quick if you just do a quick search for me or on the channel and the SUR. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I love it. I'm gonna just cruise around the farm a little bit, but either way, I'll see you guys in the next one.